Good afternoon, everyone. The next item of business is a statement by Ivan McKee on life sciences innovation and the COVID-19 response. The Minister will take questions at the end of his statement, and so there should be no interventions or interruptions. Can I have up to 10 minutes, please, Minister?
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Presiding Officer, this is my second parliamentary statement relating to the response of Scotland's businesses to COVID-19. And since the start of the pandemic, I've worked with Scottish-based manufacturing companies to develop a resilient business response to current and future needs. On 27th May, I updated the Chamber on our work to create and strengthen Scottish supply chains to produce PPE and other critical products for NHS Scotland. One company I mentioned in May, Alpha Solway, based in Annan and Dumfries, purchased machines to make masks and switched from making clothing to visors. Earlier this month, Alpha Solway secured work for a £53 million order from NHS Scotland. And over the next year, they will supply 232 million surgical masks, 6 million respirator masks and 2 million visors and create 200 new jobs in Dumfries. This is great news for both the company and the local area. And importantly, it shows that Scottish businesses can be cost competitive in this sector on the global stage. Today I will focus on how life science companies are supporting our response. Much has been made possible due to the investment made by the Scottish Government and our agencies. The sector has achieved on average year-on-year growth of 10% since 2010 and contributed 2.4 billion GVA. It also contributes around 1/5 of Scotland's business enterprise research and development spend and is a major contributor to Scotland's exports. I have the pleasure of co-chairing the industry leadership group, Life Sciences Scotland, and can assure the Chamber the sector remains ambitious and focused. And I'd like to thank Dave Tudor, my co-chair, and the members of the ILG past and present. Their commitment and effort means we are delivering results. Dave's day job is heading up the Medicines Manufacturing Innovation Centre, and they're concentrated on strengthening our manufacturing capacities and supporting the UK Vaccines Task Force. My aim for the sector is to anchor high-quality companies in Scotland to build a world-class life science cluster and attract additional investment to Scotland. Now, a recent example of this support is the investment received to anchor ODX Innovations and its medical testing business in Inverness. Highlands and Islands invested £1.75 million R&D support to support its fit-out at Salasta House, the health and life science business building within the Inverness City region deal, creating up to 60 new jobs and growing its global reputation. In this statement, I will not be able to do justice to all the companies involved in this effort, and apologise in advance to any I miss out due to time pressures, but I hope to give the Chamber a flavour of the ability and strength of our life sciences sector. A more comprehensive account of the responses contained in the accompanying report I will publish today. And I also wish to acknowledge the hard work of companies who have protected their staff and customers by adapting their workplaces to work safely and securely. And I thank the trade unions and health and safety executive who supported the development of the sector's sectoral guidance. Scottish-based companies have been active in critical parts of the COVID response, including testing, supply, vaccine development, vaccine supply chain and repurposing drugs. And I will cover each in return. I've been working to develop a strong pipeline to achieve our test and protect priorities. We continue building strong collaborative working across Scotland, and one such partnership includes Thermo Fisher Scientific, based in Innan and Perth. The company is a key partner in the Lighthouse Laboratory at the University of Glasgow, Queen Elizabeth Hospital campus, and the company is partnered with two other Scottish-based businesses, BioAssent and BioClavis, and with Dundee University and the Beatson Institute. The collaboration received dedicated support from Scottish Enterprise's Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Service to optimise the throughput of test samples by the adoption of lean manufacturing principles in the Lighthouse Lab. The company expects increased demands for their products using the COVID-19 PCR testing workflow and an increasing manufacturing capacity in Scotland. This company will shortly supply 20 million tests per week globally. They are supporting the UK response with 4.5 million sample collection and transport kits provided weekly as a result of a $25 million investment by Thermo Fisher Scientific in their Perth facility. The company is also making a substantial investment of $100 million in the Inchinnan site in support of Europe, Middle East and Africa, bioprocessing customers and, importantly, vaccine development work in the UK. And the company has previously received Regional Selective Assistance Grant of £1.9 million from Scottish Enterprise to bring £12.6 million into the Advanced Granulation Technology Facility in Inchinnan, creating 30 jobs and safeguarding 47. At a time of global shortages, we sought companies who could offer an immediate response to the pandemic. One of those was Dundee-based Hutchison Technologies, supported with £250,000 of RSA from Scottish Enterprise in 2016 for new premises. This year, the company worked with NHS Scotland to source 3.4 million approved and quality-assessed swab sample test kits to address our urgent needs. Extraction media for use with test swabs was also in short supply. Eno Laboratories, headquartered in Bonnybridge, rose to this challenge. The company previously received a £425,000 RSA grant from Scottish Enterprise in 2015 to build an additional lab facility in Cumbernauld. This year, the company expanded from making filled Petri dishes to producing virus transport medium. To do this, they re-engineered machines for automation and retained staff. This led to a £7 million contract with NHS Scotland. The development of a reliable and clinically approved vaccine is of fundamental importance in the fight against COVID. Scotland has historically been strong in pharmaceutical services and has a major role to play in the response, including in the two major UK collaborations, Imperial College and Oxford University, and we're also supporting the wider supply chain. Valneva Scotland Limited in Livingston, part of a French group, is expected to create 75 additional jobs in developing a new coronavirus vaccine. If proven to be safe and effective in clinical trials, the expanded living facility could supply up to 100 million vaccine doses worldwide. The site has had continued Scottish Enterprise support, including £250,000 to support the creation of an R&D hub in 2015. And recently, the company received a £925,000 R&D grant related to the development of a separate viral vaccine. Reprocel Europe is also supporting vaccine development following recent expansion, supported by £150,000 from SE in 2017 to move into the West of Scotland Science Park. The company joined a European consortium to develop an mRNA vaccine for high-risk populations. Of course, vaccine development has a complex global supply chain. Symbiosis is a Stirling-based contract manufacturing business specialising in fill finish, in which the Scottish Investment Bank has a 25% equity stake. In June, they announced an agreement with AstraZeneca to provide access to sterile manufacturing capabilities for clinical trials. SGS UK Limited and Clydebank is also an agreement with AstraZeneca, part of a Swiss group. This company will provide analytical testing services to support the Oxford collaboration. The company received Scottish Enterprise support for their expansion project in 2017 worth £9.6 million, supporting 19 new scientific jobs and creating and safeguarding 50. It also received an R&D grant award of £1.79 million. Merck BioReliance in Irvine is supplying chemicals that control vaccine pH levels. They have been working primarily with the Jenner Institute in Oxford, and this project reduced the vaccine development time from a year to 2 months. The company received SE support of £125,000 over the past 5 years to provide primarily capital investment to support laboratory expansion and training. The COVID-19 response has also resulted in a diversification of products as companies respond to longer-term impacts for patients. Nova Biotics in Aberdeen has been testing one of its drugs on COVID-19 patients with secondary lung infections, and the antibiotic helps patients tackle drug-resistant bacteria. This company has been provided with £3 million equity in loans provided by the Scottish Investment Bank to the company since 2005, providing an 18.2% stake in the company. Pneumogen in St Andrews has run successful trials to prevent coronavirus-related respiratory tract infections. In May, they received £4 million investment from Thern Bio and the Scottish Investment Bank for the development of Newfamil for prevention and treatment to start next year. This is a fast-moving sector, Presiding Officer, and only last week, Lumira DX, based in Stirling, received emergency use authorisation from the US Food and Drug Administration for their new antigen test, and it's going through the final stages of validation for use in Scotland. This UK-based company have developed a COVID-19 test result to be available in only 12 minutes. This can revolutionise the fight against the virus. Today, I can announce a £6.7 million deal to purchase these devices, which will be manufactured in Scotland, creating local jobs and again highlighting the important R&D work that is being done here. The company have previously been recognised by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for their innovative work, and the company will supply 300 instruments as well as a minimum of 500,000 tests to NHS Scotland, which is of huge importance to our Test and Protect strategy. Looking ahead, Presiding Officer, we expect continued developments in testing capability by making sample collection simpler and turnaround times quicker. We continue work on supply chain resilience and on future needs, and progress has been made to develop rapid point-of-care or near point-of-care testing, especially in remote areas. And as Minister for Trade, I'm keen to ensure that opportunities in Scotland are communicated to trading partners and companies who wish to collaborate to support economic growth and to help achieve our health and wellbeing priorities. Presiding Officer, I've set out here some of the great examples of work taking place right here in Scotland, demonstrating the capability and skills in our life science sector and the key roles these businesses play in the global response to COVID-19. I'm very proud of all that's been achieved and look forward to seeing the sector continue to grow and thrive in future. Thank you.
The Minister will now take questions on the issues raised in his statement, and I will allow around 20 minutes for that, but would appreciate succinct questions and answers, please. And it would be helpful if those who wish to ask a question would press the request to speak buttons now. And I call first of all Donald Cameron.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Can I thank the Minister for advance sight of his statement? I too would like to pay tribute to many of the companies that are contributing towards the fight against COVID-19, especially those involved in the PPE supply chain, vaccine development and supply, and testing, which were mentioned in his statement. I also acknowledge his comments about the Medicines Manufacturing Innovation Centre supporting the UK Vaccines Task Force, a good example of Scottish and UK agencies working together in collaboration in the fight against the virus. I have two questions. Firstly, the 2017 Life Sciences Strategy for Scotland pledged to increase the industry's contribution to the Scottish economy to £8 billion by 2025. In the light of the pandemic, can I ask him if this is still a target the Scottish Government are working towards, and will it be achieved? Secondly, I welcome the point of rapid or near point-of-care testing in rural areas, especially given the issues we've had this week. Can he provide any more details of when that service will become available?
Ivan McKee.
Thank you for the questions. On the first question, the member may be aware that the sector was running well ahead of target to hit the £8 billion turnover target by 2025, and last year's numbers were significantly higher than the year before. Clearly, the COVID impact has had an impact across all of the economy, and the life science sector is not immune. But having said that, of course, there are many parts of the sector that will increase their business as a consequence of the pandemic. It's too early to say where those targets will land. I certainly would be keen to see us still shooting for that target. I think that is still possible, but until the dust settles and we see the impact of the pandemic on the sector, it's probably too early to commit to that in its entirety, and I'd like to obviously talk to the Life Science ILG to reflect further on that. In regards to the second point, the impact that the Lumira DX technology manufactured in Scotland will have on point-of-care testing with a 12-minute test is of course significant. As I said in the statement, the final stages of that assessment are happening in Scotland for use in Scotland, and we should receive those quickly. The company is constrained through its manufacturing capacity, obviously, to produce those units, but we would expect to receive the first of those units very quickly, and we've offered every assistance to the company through acquisition of skills, lean manufacturing support through SMAS, and also any opportunities they may need for us to help support their broader supply chain to be able to accelerate the manufacture of the instrumentation required for the tests. So we should start to see those tests coming on stream very soon.
Rhoda Grant.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The JERS figures today make grim reading, so the Scottish Government need to use every lever at their disposal to build our economy. And life sciences provides opportunities to do this, and we need to support them, especially at the time when they begin to export, and we need to make sure that that ownership is retained in Scotland. We also know that the sector lacks suitably skilled entrants, especially women. So would the Scottish Government use their Jobs Guarantee scheme to fill this gap and encourage people to join or indeed reskill into the sector? There is a shortage of women in the sector, and women are also disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Indeed, they are facing unemployment rates 50% higher than that of men. So will the Scottish Government change their wrong-headed approach to their youth jobs guarantee scheme and include women, thereby building the life science sector and dealing with the impact of COVID-19 as well?
Ivan McKee.
Well, in respect of the jobs guarantee, I would clearly that's my colleagues in the economy and business portfolios will comment on that. With regards to the broader aspects of skills, the report that's published today does contain a section in it on skills. Skills is something we've addressed through working with the life science sector. It's one of the key pillars of the strategy we've joint developed with the sector through the ILG, and there has been continued focus on increasing the skills level for life science entrants as across all STEM subjects and technical careers, because of course we see that's fundamentally important to the future of Scotland's economy, and the member will be very well aware that there's a huge focus within all of those skills development plans on increasing the gender balance and encouraging more female participants, as indeed participants from other parts of society to be engaged in that in the sector. So it's something that there's a great focus on and will continue to be so as we move forward to further develop the sector.
We move to open questions. Can I have Angela Constance, please, to be followed by Brian Whittle?
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Minister spoke with hope about the clinical trials undertaken by Valneva in Livingston and the potential to supply 100 million coronavirus vaccines worldwide. But also in Livingston, we have the largest life science employer in Scotland, IQVIA Q2 Solutions, who support clinical trials too at a global level, targeted at cancer and other diseases. Therefore, what will the Scottish Government do to ensure that this job-creating and life-saving work in my constituency can continue to scale up, show global leadership and not be blown off course by Brexit or economic recession?
Ivan McKee.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, the member does benefit from having both Valneva and IQVIA and Valneva and IQVIA in her constituent. I visited IQVIA not long ago and was impressed by the scale of the operations they have there. Regarding the Valneva, they have received funding of £250,000 to create the creation of an R&D hub in Livingston, and recently they also received a £925,000 R&D life science innovation responding to COVID grant relating to development of a separate viral vaccine. So we're pleased to see both companies thriving, and we continue to work closely with them to support them. And the impact of Brexit, as the member mentioned, is of course going to have a significant impact on the sector across a whole range of aspects, be that skills that we've talked about, access to skills, be it access to markets, be it regulation and cooperation with our European partners. So we work hard to develop the sector, notwithstanding the negative impact that Brexit will have.
Brian Whittle, followed by Kenneth Gibson.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. I think the Minister highlights the ability of business to adapt and innovate at pace whenever necessary, and he also highlights the investment from both businesses and governments to enable that innovation. Now, we all hope these efforts to curtail COVID will be successful, but can I ask what consideration the Scottish Government has given to maintaining that resilient business response for this and any future eventualities, while also dealing with the possible reduction in current response requirements and the need for businesses to have to reinvest and readapt to a business world, hopefully without COVID?
Ivan McKee.
It's a good question. I mean, clearly advances in life science technology are rapid, and there are many aspects to the work that businesses can do in the sector. We're not running out of diseases to cure anytime soon, unfortunately. So we will continue to work with the sector on the areas that they identify as being a priority, to look for opportunities to bring investment and businesses in the most advanced technology to Scotland. And I think the fact that we have such an excellent academic underpinning to that work in Scotland, with some universities in the top echelons globally in terms of life science research and development, really acts as a magnet to attract those businesses and help them work with us to focus on the sector and understand where those opportunities are going forward post-COVID.
Kenneth Gibson, followed by Patrick Harvey.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I welcome the Minister's statement. GSK employs around 330 people in North Ayrshire, where it will cease manufacture of 6 APA used to produce antibiotics, resulting in a significant cost reduction, but also with the loss of up to 50 jobs. The company believes this will improve sustainability, fuel investment plans and R&D, and ultimately boost new product launches. The Minister mentioned GSK's development of new products. So has he discussed their collaboration with Sanofi on a COVID-19 vaccine, and how the Scottish Government can best work with GSK to help secure its future in North Ayrshire?
Ivan McKee.
I've met around, I think, 15 or 16 of the businesses mentioned in the report so far, and I'm working my way round the rest, and GSK is absolutely one of the businesses that I intend to speak to very soon. The situation, as I mentioned, the life science sector, unfortunately, is not immune from the impact of COVID on the economy. Clearly, parts of the sector have got a lot of work to do and are expanding as a consequence of aspects of the COVID pandemic, but that doesn't mean that all of the sector is immune. The unfortunate situation with the potential job loss at GSK is, of course, something that we will be talking to the company about in the broader context to understand, is there anything we can do, as the member suggests, to support other aspects of their work that would absorb those employees, and also, if that is not the case, to work to find alternative solutions through PACE activity that would look to replace those, find other opportunities for those individuals to continue their careers in the life science sector in Scotland.
Patrick Harvey, followed by Claire Adamson.
Thank you. I hope we can all share a support for innovation and cooperation in the interests of public health. But all too predictably, we do see companies around the world merely competing to be the first to bring products to market, regardless of safety. The Royal College of Pathologists, for example, have expressed concerns about the direct sale to consumers of antibody testing, and there have also been concerns raised about products manufactured in some countries which they don't use themselves but export, which don't meet an acceptable standard here. Can the Minister give us an assurance that the Scottish Government will only be supporting the manufacture in Scotland or the export from Scotland of products which meet a standard which would allow them to be used in Scotland?
Ivan McKee.
Member will be aware that we have the high standards in Scotland regarding life science products, and that applies to manufacture and use, and it's something that's very, very important to us. And we will continue to maintain those standards, to work with businesses that obviously apply those standards, and to recognise and work with the sector and those businesses to ensure that those high standards are maintained both here in Scotland and internationally.
Claire Adamson, followed by David Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Can I thank the Minister for his statement, and I look forward to the publication of the report. Life sciences industry is a truly global industry, and it's key in the global fight against COVID-19. But it's also very dependent on collaboration, R&D, and particularly Horizon 2020 funding. So can I ask the Minister what concerns he has as we are fast approaching no-deal Brexit, and what impact that may have on our life sciences industry?
Ivan McKee.
The member's absolutely correct. The fight against the pandemic, as the word suggests, is global, and Scottish businesses are engaged in all aspects of that activity. Through the report, the Chamber will see that around half of the businesses that we've identified in the report are foreign-owned and are working here and are part of, clearly, their larger global group. And all of the businesses are working internationally across the UK, across Europe and globally. So that collaboration is hugely important in this effort, as in all efforts in the sector. The impact of Brexit, be it on Horizon 2020, as was mentioned, and research, be it on access to skills and transfer of skills across borders, be it in relation to regulatory issues, be it in relation to complex supply chains, is clearly going to have a negative impact. It's something we and the sector have been very concerned about since 2016. It's something we continue to be concerned about as the prospect of a no-deal Brexit continues to loom on the horizon.
David Stewart, followed by Alex Neil.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I welcome the statement and share the Minister's enthusiasm about the future potential of life sciences. Within my own region, Highlands Islands, could I flag up to the Minister the first-class work being carried out by LifeScan and the Centre for Health Science and their focus on diabetes research and development? My questions for the Minister are simply these. How do we attract inward investment? How do we retain jobs? And how do we upskill training and development? And finally, would the Minister join with me in congratulating Highlands Islands Enterprise for the work they do, such as ODX Innovations, but crucial that their budget is maintained, indeed enhanced, not cut?
Ivan McKee.
Yeah, so first of all, yeah, I share with the member appreciation of the great work that Highlands and Islands Enterprise does along with our other economic development agencies across Scotland, and recognise the great work of LifeScan and in fact the whole cluster that's developing in the Inverness area around life science and medical devices, which is hugely welcome. In terms of skills, I've obviously talked to that already, and it continues to be a huge focus for the sector, and we work closely with the sector to execute and bring forward as many of those plans to upskill as possible. And specifically on the foreign direct investment piece, this is something that a lot of work has been done on over the past months. We will be launching our new foreign direct investment plan to accompany our export plan we launched last year. That will be launched in the next few weeks, and I would recommend that to the member and to other members in the chamber. It identifies very clearly a strategic approach and the key sectors that we want to focus on to attract inward investment and position Scotland's assets and strengths in order to do that and continue the strength we've had in that area. And I can let the member know, it'll be no secret that life science is one of the key sectors that we will be very much focusing on to attract global investment into Scotland to further strengthen the sector here, build clusters and also work with and strengthen the existing local supply chains.
Alex Neil, followed by Alex Cole-Hamilton.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Can I also welcome the statement by the Minister? Life sciences is one of the highest multipliers in the economy, producing many more jobs and sources of wealth creation out with the sector as well as in the sector. And a very good example of that is ILC Therapeutics in BioCity in my own constituency, which is engaged in immunotherapy, a hugely growing area for life sciences. But can I also draw the Minister's attention to the huge potential in the expansion of animal life sciences? Since we're discussing agriculture this afternoon, it's particularly relevant that we take the two together and look at the huge benefits for Scotland that would accrue from substantially increased investment in animal life sciences as well as in human life sciences.
Ivan McKee.
Again, the member is fortunate to have BioCity in his constituency. ILC Therapeutics is one of those businesses that others mentioned in the report that are also based at BioCity, and I had the pleasure of visiting BioCity, I think, twice in my tenure as a Minister responsible for life science. And the member is absolutely correct. The life science sector in Scotland is broad. It covers a number of areas, including what we've talked about here on testing and vaccine development. Therapeutics and medical devices, as we mentioned, in regards to Inverness, and also what we call AAA, which is the animal aquaculture and agriculture aspect, which is very important to the sector in Scotland. We all know, of course, of many examples of innovation in that subsector that have come from Scotland, and it's very much a part of the focus as we move forward to continue to build and grow the sector and its roots in Scotland.
Alex Cole-Hamilton, followed by Annabel Ewing.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. The Minister has already acknowledged the valuable work of the Glasgow-based Tissue Solutions partnership with the Cambridge Blood and Stem Cell Biobank, which has been working to contribute to the development of a vaccine and potential treatments. Despite providing somewhere in the region of 1,400 blood samples over the past few months, the partnership has been unable to access the necessary material from Scottish biorepositories. I understand from Tissue Solutions that the Minister is now working to enable access to Scottish biorepositories, but can I ask the Minister why this process has taken so long when the impacts of such access from the start could have led to potentially life-saving efficiency?
Ivan McKee.
Clearly, the vaccine development and supply chains is complicated, and it's been further complicated, of course, by the impact of COVID on some of these operations. I do undertake to, I'm aware of Tissue Solutions, and I do undertake to take the members' concern away and look into that specifically to understand if there's anything else I can do as Minister to help move forward and accelerate this particular challenge. But rest assured that it's something that we have huge focus on to make this process as efficient and speedy as possible as we move forward on a great many fronts, as I've highlighted, to try and find solutions, vaccines and cures for the current COVID situation.
Annabel Ewing, followed by Jamie Halcrow-Johnson.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Minister has touched on some of the collaboration as between industry and academia, which of course forms part and parcel of the response to COVID-19. Does he agree that having 5 Scottish universities in the top 20 for biological sciences, as graded by the Good University Guide, is testament to the strength of the Scottish life sciences sector?
Ivan McKee.
Yes, I mentioned in an earlier answer the triple helix, the cooperation between industry, the NHS and the universities in Scotland is absolutely fundamental to the success, and we see that as really underpinning how we go forward. The 5 universities, and I'll name them just to give them a name check, is Dundee, St Andrews, Strathclyde, Glasgow and Edinburgh. And Dundee in particular at number 3 in that table, and a global leader in drug discovery has a very particular recommendation and commendation to the great work that they have done over many years in the life science sector. And it's worth highlighting, for example, Dundee and Edinburgh universities are both involved in a £77 million pan-European consortium, CARE, the Corona Accelerated R&D in Europe, and that's seeking to accelerate the development of therapies for COVID-19 and future coronaviruses. So we're hugely focused on that. We recognise the importance of universities to this work in the sector, and we'll continue to cooperate with them to move that forward.
And the last question is to Jamie Halcrow-Johnson.
It's good that the Minister highlights the importance of the work of Scotland's universities. Can I then ask the Minister what discussions he's had with the Finance Secretary to ensure that the vital funding is in place to ensure that that collaboration can continue going forward?
Ivan McKee.
The member will be aware that we're in the middle of budget processes at the moment, and that those discussions are continuing, and you can be rest assured that I'm making every effort to position and explain the importance of this sector and many other of Scotland's high technology sectors to ensure that they and the university work that underpins them receives the support, because these sectors are the future and they are the areas where we need to be focusing our resource. But of course it's part of a wider, bigger picture, and the Finance Secretary and the Cabinet will take their decisions on the allocation of funds in due course.
That concludes questions to the Minister's statement, and we'll shortly move on to the next item of business.